All right, I'll call this regular July meeting of the Muncie Ethics Commission to order. Before we get underway, first I want to welcome Frank Scott II, our newest appointed member of the Ethics Commission. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Glad to have you.
Thank you.
I'll also mention, you may have noticed, there's a little bit different format on the agenda and the notice with the list of the members, our appointing authority, and the beginning and the ending of our current terms. You'll also notice that there's information about where the meetings are streamed and where they're archived, and that's part of the same law that started requiring all meetings be streamed on July 1 also requires that information. And so I want to thank Amber Green, Communications Director, for helping me get the correct streaming and archive information on there. So anyway, with that out of the way, Mr. Lowe, will you call the roll?
Chip Taylor,
Here?
Susan Dillon,
Here.
Sandra Whitaker,
Here.
Jim Lowe, I'm here, Frank Scott II,
Here.
all present.
Okay. You had in your meeting packet the approval, the minutes from the previous meeting. I have a motion for approval of those.
I will make a motion to approve the minute, or the agenda, the minutes. The minutes from our June meeting as they were submitted to us for review.
Second it.
All right, got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So, first item of business, we have initial action on an ethics complaint. We don't do this every meeting, so I'll remind again kind of the process here. So, according to rules, we don't take any public input on this part. According to the ordinance, and at this stage, we don't discuss anything. We only discuss the complaint by complaint number. And there are, under the ordinance, there are 7 or 8 specific things that we might do at this point. Those are the only things that we can do. Let me read this preamble about what the information that's available publicly about this complaint, and then we can consider our action. So this has to do with complaint number EC 25-14. Complaint number EC 25-14 was filed in the office of the Muncie City Clerk on June 16, 2025, and thereafter forwarded to the chair of the City of Muncie Ethics Commission. On June 25th, 2025, the City of Muncie Ethics Commission met in executive session pursuant to Section 42.01C of the City of Muncie Code of Ordinances to receive information regarding the complaint and discuss whether the complaint warrants further investigation. And now tonight, on July 9th, 2025, the City of Muncie Ethics Commission is holding a public meeting pursuant to Section 42.01D of the City of Muncie Code of Ordinances to take action on the complaint. So, my colleagues wish to make a motion on what action we should take on this complaint.
I would like to make a motion to stay the proceedings because additional investigation is necessary. And this is based on the information that was reviewed in the executive session and the questions that arose.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'd second.
Okay, second from Mr. Lowe. So the motion is to stay the proceedings because additional investigation is necessary, subject to 42.01D6. So, is there any discussion? Okay. Mr. Lowe, you want to call the roll?
Chip Taylor,
Yes.
Susan Dillon,
Yes.
Sandra Whitaker,
Yes.
Frank Scott II,
Yes.
Jim Lowe, yes.
Okay. So that's the decision at this stage. So according to our rules at this point, if we're going to conduct an investigation as chair, I can appoint 2 members of the commission to serve as the investigating commission members. And I would like to appoint Sandra Whitaker. Thank you. And myself. So let the minutes reflect that Sandra Whitaker and Charles Taylor will serve as the investigating committee members. According to the ordinance, we need a vote of the commission to determine scope of investigation and authorize subpoenas if needed. I've got a motion for that. Let me hand out a copy of it because it's long. And Jim, I'll send you a Word document with it so you can make it easier to put in the minutes. So, let me get a drink of water. Okay. I move that the scope of the investigation for complaint EC 25-14 be as follows. The investigation shall focus on the allegations that the investigating commission members, in consultation with legal counsel, determined may constitute violations of the City of Muncie Code of Ethics. The investigating commission members may seek to interview the complainant, seek to interview any potential witnesses identified in the complaint, seek to interview any potential witnesses identified in the course of the investigation, seek to interview the respondent, verify the authenticity of any evidentiary documents included in the complaint, and seek to obtain any other documents or evidence related to the complaint. If the investigating commission members, in consultation with legal counsel, determine it is necessary, they may seek to compel the production of documents and other evidence as permitted by Section 41.047 of the City of Muncie Ethics Code. If the investigating commission members, in consultation with legal counsel, determine it is necessary, they may seek to compel the attendance and testimony of witnesses as permitted by Section 41.048 of the City of Muncie Ethics Code. Let you absorb that and then see if somebody cares to make a second.
Did you make the motion?
That was the motion.
Okay, I will second.
Okay. Motion made by Taylor, seconded by Susan Dillon. I guess, just by way of explanation, and then I'll entertain any questions from my colleagues. I guess the idea is here, it's kind of general. It allows us to, interview at least try to interview the people we may need to interview. Gather or authenticate evidence, and don't anticipate that we would need to issue any subpoenas, but we've got authorization from the commission to do that if in collaboration with legal counsel, we determine that it's necessary. So, any questions?
I'll second your motion.
Susan.
Oh, you
seconded.
already did, I'm sorry. I had to catch up with my writing. Got it, yeah.
Okay, if there are no questions or other discussion, I guess call the roll.
Chip Taylor,
Yes.
Susan Dillon,
Yes.
Sandra Whitaker,
Yes.
Frank Scott.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bro, is that for this? or just
This
my
is
name?
for the motion to have the investigation include the following.
This is for the information that I don't
Off
have
of these,
information
yeah,
on, so
off
I can
of
abstain
that.
from here.
Mhm.
Yes, I
Just-
abstain.
And Jim Lowe, yes.
Okay. All right, well, that's our decision on that for tonight. This means that we'll be back with this again. Ideally, I hope it's possible we can, do what needs to be done in time to, consider the next step at the next meeting, but we'll just have to see how it goes. So, next item, old business, we have the electronic meeting policy. We discussed this last month. No changes were suggested. Anybody have any, if I care to make a motion to adopt this, and then if we have a motion underway, we can discuss it if we need to.
Move to adopt the electronic meeting policy as written.
I will second that.
All right, thank you. So we have a motion, and a second, to adopt the electronic meeting policy. Any questions or discussion on that? Hearing none, I guess call the roll.
Chip Taylor,
Yes.
Susan Dillon.
Yes.
Let me get caught up with my hanger. Sandra Whitaker,
Yes.
Frank Scott,
Abstain.
and Jim Lowe, yes.
Okay. Just, I'll report a couple things under other business, and then if anybody else has anything, they can, share it. So I've been working with, Belinda Munson and Lacey Jones in the city clerk's office on the transparency portal. And if you go to, the Ethics Commission, page on the city's website now, you'll find, a link that says transparency portal. This is something that required is like 43 point something in the ethics code. It's in the, sort of the same part of the MUNA code, like where you can get, like our meeting packets and that stuff. There are like 8 sections that correspond to the 8 things that are listed for the transparency portal. And so you'll find a folder has the code of ethics and our procedures. So they can download a copy of the ordinance and copies of our procedures that have been adopted. The second folder has a list of the Ethics Commission members, and they've set it up so that it sort of keeps the whole history. So like it shows when WC served, and then when his term was over, when he stepped down, and Frank being appointed to take his place. So I talked to, I think that'll be important since we have term limits and, times that you have to stay out. We need to have like the complete history of who served and when. The third folder has the State Board of Accounts conflict of interest form, if somebody was to, file an actual conflict of interest for a contract or a decision. The fourth folder has advisory opinions issued by the Ethics Commission. So if we ever issue an advisory opinion according to the procedure for that, that's where it'll be found afterwards. There's a folder for public documents related to complaints filed with the Ethics Commission. So whatever is, eventually made public shows up there. So the first batch of complaints that we dealt with were dismissed without going further. So what you'll find there is the copy of the decision form that shows like when it was filed and when we met on it and the reason why it was dismissed. The sixth folder is for annual reports to the Ethics Commission. So the ordinance requires that we file a report, at the end of the year. So that's where those will be found. And then there's a folder that documents compliance with training requirements. And so what you'll find in there's a folder that says COI and training report. And so that's thanks to Patty Goddard. She, arranged like for the online training for employees and elected officials and, appointed officials like us to take, and we verify that we've taken it. And then we also fill out any information if there is essentially the same information that would be on the conflict of interest form if we had a conflict of interest. And so there's a report there. She sent that out in May, and so she ran the report like the start of June. And so her plan is to run it every quarter throughout the year, be cumulative, so it'll show everybody that's done the training or file that information for the year, and those will all be there, and then she'll start over like at the beginning of the next year. So that's there. Then there's a folder for State Board of Account forms that are submitted by officials and employees. It's like there's one in there. There's one city council member that has filed a conflict of interest form back earlier in the year, and so you can see that there. And then there's a folder for the disclosures of contracts with relatives of city employees or elected officials, and if anybody ever files one of those, that'll be there. And then the eighth folder is the one where to collect public documents related to purchases of $5,000 or more. And if y'all checked your official email today, there was a memo that went out. We discussed the information that was going to be in the memo last month. Alan Wisely was here filling in for Aubrey Christ. I followed up with them afterwards with the draft of the memo. at that point, they said, yeah, it looked fine. What we had to finalize there was kind of some information about specifically like an email address for Belinda to receive stuff electronically. And so we got that settled, and so I sent that out this morning. Because we had it ready to go like right before the 4th of July, but that didn't seem like the best time to send it out right before a holiday, so. So that'll be information going in there. So a lot of thanks to, Belinda and Lacey for getting this set up and, working with us on this, and to Patty Goddard for, helping us with getting that quarterly report. And that's all I have. I just wanted to update everybody on that. Any questions or?
So this memo, the receivers of this memo have to acknowledge they received it?
I did not think to do that before I sent it out,
You're not- okay.
but I know, I think back when we sort of started that, one reason, I copied, the city attorney on there. I thought, they may have questions, we really have to do this or whatever, and they can contact her.
And then we have names and positions. So for the future, all these positions is what's important, because names will change.
Right.
And how will we know, will we issue this every year? How frequently would we issue this?
Yeah, I haven't thought that far ahead. I mean, I thought we'd get through this year. It may be, something like to send out a reminder at the start of the year. Reminder about that. I'm hoping that the departments kind of build this into their purchasing process and send we've asked that they send the information within two weeks of, executing a contract or finalizing a purchase. And so I'm hoping maybe that this, city clerk's office gets some of this information every couple of weeks. That will, it's a work in progress. We'll see how it goes. Any other questions? Okay. Anybody care to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a second?
Second.
Been a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.